Hello, everybody. My name is Alexander Morari. I'm the founder of ITKeyMedia, and you're tuned in to our podcast about Central and Eastern European startups that are in pre-Series A stage. And our guest today is Joonatan Samuel, the co-founder of Reiterate. Reiterate enables to model partner fees to transaction level and manage your spend and pricing with no condition left behind. We'll unfold this in a second. And as for now, tere hommikust, should I say?
Tere hommikust.
Oh, that was great. You understood me.
Kuidas sul läheb?
Oh, no, please don't make me trespass my limitations of Estonian language. And let's come back to the scenario. So let me start just with one warm-up question. Is there any CEO of a startup, mature or early stage, that is a model, a role model for you?
Yes, definitely. So a CEO no longer, but Ahti Heinla, the CTO of Starship Technologies, is a big role model for me.
Wow, okay.
And he used to be the CEO for some time as well.
Mm-hmm. Of the same company?
Yeah, he's one of the founders and now leads the engineering team there.
Okay, and what do you do?
Starship Technologies is a really cool startup building delivery robots. So a physical goods company. They're solving the problem of last mile delivery. Cool. And for this, they're building a fleet of autonomous robots.
Yeah, okay. There are a number of such. Okay, well, good. We'll try and get out in touch with this CTO of this company and maybe put you guys in touch. Let's start with round one, the solution that you are working on. In a nutshell, how would you describe your solution in a future Wikipedia article? First paragraph.
So very shortly, in the world today, there's so much data to be accessed. And only a few people have the skills, the coding skills, the engineering skills to access that. So what we are doing is we're building an editor where you can drag and drop components together into a flowchart, and that flowchart becomes the program essentially. And we're first applying this to the finance realm for modeling contractual obligations and how these intertwine between each other.
Okay, is it in the low code, no code kind of concept?
It is a low code, no code environment indeed. We do allow users to write SQL and other scripting languages as well. But the target really is to get to a place where you don't have to do that. If you can draw a flowchart, you should be able to code.
Okay, clear. Joonatan, let's twist a little bit the conversation, and I will ask you to describe your product and solution from the point of view of your potential client or a couple of user cases, right? So 2 or 3 user categories. What are their pain point, and how do you resolve that?
So our solution is kind of an infrastructure play in a way. We are providing the platform for people to come in and create their own solutions. And the solutions that we specialize in currently are the contractual obligations, so preventing overcharging and undercharging. So if you are a service provider, if you're on the sell side, then you are able to put together the commercial and pricing agreement that you have with your clients. So you're able to generate invoices. If you are a purchaser or kind of on the buy side or consuming service, you are able to take your vendor's pricing, put it in, and check that the invoices that vendor is sending you are correct. So in these 2 categories, we're preventing overcharging and undercharging, which seems to be a huge problem of about 10% in the world of the total contract value in these transactional contracts. But companies are looking for us for other things as well. So if you look at the process, kind of understanding contracts and managing the commercial agreement, then typically this is managed by just a single person, and that single person is overloaded and stressed out. So they have quite high churn, and that person doesn't stay with the company for too long. But that poses a risk, a key person risk, if the person who knows about all of your commercial agreement just leaves one day.
I mean,
instead,
human error is one thing, but also employee retention is another problem or issue. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question, by the way? Do you take part in actually negotiating or signing a contract, or you take over from the moment when a contract is signed, for example, with some commitments and obligations on both sides, and then I understand you abstract from this contract some key fields that later on influence on either invoice generation or checking errors in invoice and so on and so on. So just to sum up, negotiations, signing of contracts. Do you take part in this, or this is?
We don't take part in the negotiations. We can help aid kind of with information in terms of these negotiations. But we are what happens after that, after the contract is signed. How do you actually manage that contract? How do you make sure this contract is being followed and you're using
executed.
executing of the contract? Yeah.
Do I understand correctly that you might have somewhere down the road or in your pipeline to make a step backwards and maybe also provide an additional model or a solution for online contract approvals or negotiation and so on, like, in this legal tech, so to say, environment?
Yeah, I guess so. Our solution is used on the buy side and the sell side. What makes sense is perhaps bridging them. So instead of doing the controls after signing of the contract, you come to the negotiation table and you use our modeling software to agree on what the contractual terms are. So more of a collaboration tool. But it also can be used kind of on the buy side to model out the agreements ahead of time, to plan what the agreement is going to look like, what its bottom line impact is going to look like, and then make a better negotiation play and have a better contract from that. But we don't do negotiations, but rather we empower people to do better execution of the contracts and maybe have better intelligence of those as well.
Do I understand correctly? Your key focus is on B2B interaction rather than B2C, right?
Yeah, we're focusing on B2B, typically 10 million in revenue, annual revenue. Anyone who buys payment services, typically fintechs, like large transactional businesses, if you're buying compliance services, for example.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Now on the business side as such, what's the pricing model that you have currently in use? And how many clients you have, and maybe some, all the regular metrics for an early stage startup that you could share, or you might feel comfortable sharing, would be great. Yeah.
Okay, so we are currently in the phase of building the product with a couple of the prospects that we're talking. So we are building the product in tandem with these prospects and growing the number and trying to make better and better product decisions as we go along the way. So the reason why we raised funds was that we were not able to deliver on the prospects and to actually get to a place where this, yep.
Yes, okay, great. So you have a couple of prospects, and is it a result of some chance, or you focused specifically on these companies? And from what verticals these partners for MVP stage, I understand, are?
So purchasers of payment services, typically fintechs,
okay.
Marketplaces, where these companies themselves might be B2C. And so companies like Spotify might be a great example of a marketplace. You might also have companies like World Remit for B2B. They have probably hundreds of banks that they are working with to deliver on kind of currency exchange promises.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And what's your planned pricing model? How would you price this per? Yeah.
So we start out with a fixed fee per annum to keep it simple. So you don't have to use our tool to manage our pricing, and we plan to use this to grow our business to show strong revenue numbers, but at the same time not make pricing a thing that will keep us from growing and keep us in the negotiation tables. Perhaps in the future, when the trust is established and people kind of believe in the brand of Reiterate, we'll be able to go to a place where we are also taking a percentage of the dollars that we save for these companies.
Like a profit share, you could say, or savings, share in the savings. After all, this is profit. Saving. Yeah. What? Yeah, cost saving kind of share. Interesting. Okay. And this will be even more fair, I would say. At some, in the future, it might be easier to sell as well. Guys, this is our promise, and we take part of our promise. If we don't deliver, we don't get the share of the cost saving. Cool.
Yeah, and typically, what I firmly believe is the 10x value. So typically, you want to provide the companies that you're working with 10x value for getting you in the door. So 10% of the cost saved. Perhaps would be one of the ways to go forward.
Yeah. Okay. What about your pipeline of expansion, where you are present right now with these MVP development partners, you could say, right? Your current clients or clients to be. This I understand somewhere in what, Estonian landscape or Baltic countries currently.
So our product is not limited by geographies, by languages. It's an analytics tool. And as such, we are global from day one. We're working with companies all over Europe. We're also talking to South American companies, American companies, and seeing success both in Europe and South and in Americas. It seems to us the focus initially will have to be in Europe. Here's a very strong fintech center in London. There's a lot of marketplaces, so we'll hopefully be able to work in this time zone for some time.
Yeah, of course. I mean, natural habitat, so to say. Yeah, okay, clear. What would you say is the biggest hurdle or obstacle in the company's growth and scaling, let's say? I mean, other than product is not ready yet, but I understand this is the key issue right now. But do you expect any other non-product related issues or hurdles? I don't know, regulations or compliance issues or change in legislation?
No, not really. So we see that this product is a no-brainer if this technology exists, if you're able to adopt this and the product works. The main challenge is, does it work? Is it able to deliver on the promise automatically? And how much manual effort do you have to put in? Perhaps the only question is how much work do you have to do by sector? So if you're working with fintech contracts, then they have some level or some set of contractual terms that you can model out and build in terms of engineering. But if you move to marketplaces or you move to lending or you move to these other sectors, the question becomes, how much engineering effort do you have to put in to start supporting these types of contracts, to start supporting these type of commercial terms? And is that scalable? And what industries, and can we tackle everything? And is there a shared space of commercial terms? We do believe there is. We do believe that moving from one industry to the other is pretty simple, and you take 80% of the commercial terms with you. But that's a hypothesis to be proven.
And how do you intend to prove that? I mean, just to say it seems to be a no-brainer. So you are now in fintech, and your best bet would be to find an adjacent vertical where the overlap is as big as it can get, right? I don't know. I'm guessing insurance, for example, or similar, right? Services, more financial than physical products, and so on and so on. And do you think you could resolve that by hiring for a month or 2 or 3 some advisor or non-executive director who would take this hypothesis into testing ground and come back to you with a solution? Or do you think you will have enough brain capacity to do it by yourself?
We believe very firmly in actually trying things out, doing testings. And so the way that we've approached this so far is to talk with the companies in these industries to understand what their pricings look like, and try to actually map out what we're missing, and then build the components that we're missing if there's promise of moving forward with that company. So far, kind of we've touched upon the fintech pricings, and there seems to be a large amount of overlap. So we'll be able to expand in the fintech, in the financial services, lending, marketplaces, these types of things. But the question is up, can we kind of resolve this elsewhere as well, and what the industries even ought to be for us to tackle?
Okay, so there's an adventure of discoveries and adventurous discoveries in front of you. Joonatan, thanks. Let's move on to round two. Round two, competitors. So you said yourself this is a no-brainer kind of concept and product to put into operation. How many competitors do you have that you are afraid of? You can mention them or just describe, and how do you plan to avoid, you know, throwing the white towel onto the ring?
Yeah. So there's competitors. It was actually funny. The moment that we closed our funding, within 3 weeks, there were 3 companies who raised funds who are solving one part of the problem that we're solving, the sell side problem of putting together usage-based pricing and generating invoices based on them. So Meter, Metronome, being kind of the large ones with the largest funding to date. We see the sell side being less of a problem. So based on our research, it seems that there's about 11% of revenue lost. It differs based on which source you cite, but 9% of that is on the buy side, where you have, like, if you're buying services, there's tons of different services that you're buying, and all of the services have different pricings to them, as opposed to when you're selling a service, the service is probably going to have pretty standard pricing from one customer to another. And that tracks with the statistics, with the research, which says that about 9% of the value is lost on the buy side, and 2% is lost on the sell side. And on the sell side, it's mostly lost customer loyalty. On the buy side, this value is lost mainly because there's contractual terms that you're not tracking in your contracts, or there was a human mistake on the other side, and you just didn't catch it, and so you pay your money out. Of course, there's soft value leakage as well, but that's not included in the 11% that I just mentioned. So kind of buying something and the service is not delivered. So what I was saying, Metronome and Meter are solving the sell side problem, which with our solution is also possible, but we're really focusing on the buy side, which we see to be a much bigger problem.
Yeah, because this is where they tend to overpay, right? Yeah, and it's a bigger problem to overpay than to overcharge a client. Yeah, this is your point in a nutshell. Joonatan, time pushes us forward. Yes, go on. One more. Yes, one more thing here.
So there's big players who we are kind of afraid because of their resources. Salesforce, Oracle, kind of ERP systems, SAP could build something like this. And we are also in the reconciliation space. So in reconciliation, you typically have like these two stages, kind of data matching. There's really cool players there like Symmetric. And then what we are doing is kind of calculating and matching the invoice numbers themselves. And so in that space, that's only us, right? There doesn't seem to be real competitors on the buy side on the reconciliation.
Yeah. So as far as your competitive landscape, closest companies are covering just part of what you are able to do, and in other areas and aspects, you are about to introduce to the market something unique that nobody else does. Great. That's a good summing up, Joonatan. Let's move on. Now, round three. Very often, this is probably the round that I'm really looking forward to. This is where I'm asking founders to share their dearest and nearest productivity hacks. You're a busy founder, co-founder of a startup, definitely. What's the productivity hack that helps you be on top of things? And again, not a tool, but the way you do things.
I think the biggest thing is to get sunlight in the morning. As soon as you wake up, within 30 to 60 minutes, to be able to get some sunlight into your eyes, and that really wakes you up and keeps you upright and gives you energy.
Wait! Are you serious? Wait! Are you serious here?
Yes.
Wow, interesting. And do you manage to do this?
Yes.
And can you replace sunlight? Can you replace sunlight with a strong artificial light source?
Strong artificial sunlight or
I mean light
can
source
help, yeah. But yeah. So well, in the room that I'm in currently, for example, the maximum capacity for light is less than 1,000 lux. If every light in the room is turned on. If you go outside, it's 50,000 lux. So that's just many numbers of magnitude better exposure to light.
I'm fully with you. I'm based in Warsaw myself. I know how important it is to get the sunlight as soon as possible in the morning. Okay, interesting. I mean, yeah, this is pretty unique. Thank you very much, Joonatan. That's a completely new perspective to a productivity hack. Let's move on to number 4 and maybe combine it with round number 5 as well, where we discuss company and the funding history by now. So as far as the company founded last year, 2021, I understand, there's a team of founders, Joonatan, Samuel, yourself, and Jan, Aaron, right, as well.
Yep.
Now, how many team members other than founders you have now?
So at current stage, we have 2 engineers on board, one joining us very soon. We have a designer and we have someone helping on the operations and sales side who are not full-time yet.
Hiring now? What positions?
We are currently hiring back-end developers, Node.js, and people who are familiar with databases, Postgre optimization.
Yeah. Would you say this is a high time for you to hire people on the front line, facing clients and so on, or not ready yet? The pipeline you have right now, I mean, the pilot partners, so to say, are enough for you to focus on the product development, right?
Yeah. Okay. So founder-led sales is still working out for us very well, and the challenge is really delivering on the promises for these clients.
Cool. Okay. So at least you know what to focus on. Okay. And so final round was Formula F3, funding for the future. So they say you got one of the record pre-seed rounds in Estonia, right? 1.25 million euros. Congratulations. Yep. And that's a pretty recent pre-seed funding success. Led by Hummingbird Ventures and included a number of notable private investors, of course, co-founders of Showpad and former Skype, Pipedrive, Stack Overflow, and Verify executives, I understand. So what's the plan? What's the plan? How to spend this pre-seed investment, and when do you plan to get ready for the next round?
So we're building the product for the next 12 to 18 months with the current funding. We'll mostly put this cash towards building the product and hiring engineers and delivering on the customers that are already in the pipeline. After that, we'll see in what state the product is. Do we need to continue developing the product at the pace? How's the sector expansion looking like? Or have we found the magic formula in one sector and can just scale that indefinitely?
Joonatan, exciting adventure in front of you with all the backers that you have now from the Baltic, Silicon Valley, European Silicon Valley, so to say. I'm sure you will find your magic formula for success. I wish you all the best, Joonatan. We'll be following on your successes as well, and please do stay in touch with us.
Yeah, thanks, Alex, for inviting, and it's been such a big pleasure.
Time will show. Thank you very much. Thanks again. Bye. Cheers.
Bye.